All right, guys, we are back for week 14 here, setting your DraftKings lineup. Hope you guys are prospering well in your seasonal leagues, and hopefully you made some cash over the last couple weeks in those daily leagues. And let's jump right into this. And first things first, let's knock that quarterback out of the way. And there's some pretty good options at quarterback this week, but I'm gonna go back to the well on Josh McCown here. He gets a Dallas defense that has allowed multi-quarterback touchdowns and is allowing the most yards to quarterbacks in the NFL. McCown has at least 350 yards in the last two contests and has thrown for 2 touchdowns in each of those contests as well. $7,400, clearly not as cheap as he has been. If you guys don't know, you can click on his name here and get a player card info, and you can actually see where his salary was, and you can see that it has climbed pretty significantly from week 13, from 6,400 to I believe he's at 7,400 right there. So I'm still okay with that. I'm not too big of a fan of the guys underneath him if we're really going to dig for some value. I guess, yeah, I think Josh McCown might be the way to go this week unless you want to spend for it. Let's knock out one of our running backs here, and we're going to grab a little bit of value in our running back. And I know that he hasn't had the most stellar performance the past couple of weeks. I think the past 2 weeks, I know he hasn't had the most stellar performances. He's had something like just south of 100 yards in those past 2 games, and that was on 35 carries. But this week, Bobby Rainey gets a good matchup against the Bills, who have given up 100 or more yards and at least 1 touchdown to opposing teams' running backs. So we're going to take advantage of a fairly good salary here at 5,900 and take advantage of a good matchup. And we'll get Bobby Rainey plugged in there. Let's get rid of some of the boring stuff here, and let's dive into our defense. And we're going to find the Raiders because the Raiders play the Jets, and that's all that we need to say. Now let's go to our kicker, and we're going to go to minimum, and we're going to grab Dan Carpenter here at $3,000. He's missed just 1 field goal in the past 21 attempts and is averaging 8.5 fantasy points per game in his past 4 games. His minimum salary, like I said, and I just am going to count on him not throwing up a bagel. So we'll take that 8 points and we'll be good at the minimum. And with that, I say that we dive back into positions. Let's knock our tight end out of the way here. And I really like Gronk against Cleveland. I like Brady against Cleveland as well too, and I'll mention him a little bit later. But we're going to, kind of like we did with the Raiders there, we're going to find whoever's playing Arizona, and that is Jared Cook this week. The Cardinals have allowed 6 touchdowns to tight ends in the past 4 games and are dead last in terms of covering the tight end, allowing just north of 85 yards per game to the position. Keep in mind, Jared Cook torched them in week 1 for 2 TDs on 141 yards. He comes in at $3,800. It's a great price compared to a lot of these other guys. Like, really, Kyle Rudolph at $4,200. Delaney Walker at $4,500 actually has a very good matchup, but it's really looking like he's not going to play. I know that he worked out today, which is Thursday, but he wasn't at practice. So I'm going with a no-go on Delaney. If he does play, though, that's actually a good matchup to exploit as well. With that, let's dive into our other running back spot here. And we're going to spend a little bit more money this time. And we're going to go find DeMarco Murray, who plays the Chicago Bears. And when a running back plays the Chicago Bears, you start him. So we've got Chicago, who have allowed 120 or more yards in 7 straight games and 150 plus in 3 straight games. In that same 7-game span, they have allowed running backs to score 10 times. It's too good of a matchup. We've got it underneath the lights. and it's a primetime game. I just think it's something that I mean, it's in at $7,400 versus Jamal at $8,700, or you've got LaShawn McCoy at $7,900, who has a much worse matchup against the Detroit Lions. I think DeMarco Murray is a great play. I think in my personal ranks, I think I have him ranked as my second overall running back. So I love the price tag. I love the matchup. Let's exploit that. And what we're going to do here is grab a wide receiver, and we're going to pick on the Minnesota secondary again. And it's not going to be Torrey Smith, though. It's going to be good old Jacoby Jones here. It's just, I mean, like I said, we're picking on the Minnesota secondary. The Vikings have allowed 14 touchdowns to receivers over the past 11 games. And with that being really good, this is what I want you to pay attention to. 5 of the last 6 TDs caught by a wideout have been by the number 2 guy. In this case, Jacoby Jones. So he isn't quite the minimum at $3,700 like some of the other value guys that we've found over the past couple of weeks have been. I like his chances of burning a guy and finding the end zone. I just think that at $3,700, I think he's going to meet that, if not exceed that salary there in terms of our return on our investment. Let's grab our second wide receiver. And you'll notice here that we do have an average of $7,900 per player to fill out our wide receiver and our flex spot. So we've got a little bit of breathing room here. And I'm going to grab good old Jeffrey from the Bears. I mean, it's just a little hard to ignore right now. I touched on how bad the Dallas secondary was when I talked about McCown. And we all just saw Andre Holmes catch 7 balls for 136 yards. Against that Dallas secondary. So I just, like I said, this is another primetime game underneath the lights. So it's hard to ignore him. I think, and what you'll see here as we've got $7,900 left to spend, I just feel like for our salary, he's going to be the best guy. If you want to spend 10 grand on Josh Gordon, go for it. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit worried about the hoodie effect, and then Talib just kind of shutting down Josh Gordon. I still have Josh Gordon, I think, as my 6 or 7 ranked wide receiver. I mean, you got to start the guy, but I just don't want to pay $10,000 for him. Brandon Marshall's another great play, but Alshon just worked into this salary a little bit more. As you'll see here in our flex, we're actually going to get a guy with a very good matchup, and we're going to grab Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush. And like I said, I mean, there's some other good options at $7,900 with that salary, but I like Reggie in the flex. He's gone up against Philly, and they've given up a total of 672 yards to opposing teams' running backs in the past 4 games, and 247 of those yards came off of receptions. They have given up 3 TDs in that same span. And he's coming off a great game, and he's got that extended rest too because he played those early slate of Thursday games on Turkey Day last week. So he's getting those couple extra days of rest. And in DraftKings with the PPR, he just catches a ton of balls out of the backfield. Like I said, I just really like the way that this salary worked out. That's where we're at for Week 14 here, guys. You'll notice that I listed some other players as well if you're not completely fond of some of the guys that I listed here. With that, best of luck in all your seasonal leagues. Hopefully you guys continue to advance. And if you don't, that's why we've got daily fantasy. So once again, good luck, and I will see you guys next week.